Tonight, in the midst of a global pandemic, three radio has-beens decide now is the time to start a half-assed podcast about a 35-year-old TV show. Can Sam, Mike, and Jeff concoct even a halfway decent program before the world flames out? Find out next on Making Fun of MacGyver. It's Making Fun of MacGyver, a rib-tickling takedown of your favorite 80s adventure show, The Love Boat. Now it's MacGyver.
Name's MacGyver.
And they're off. Welcome to episode 1, everybody. This is exciting. It's our new show, talking about an old show, and we thank you for coming along for the ride. On paper, now this ride is scheduled to go, 139 episodes, 2 movies. So on paper, and then we got this one intro episode, so we should be doing 142 episodes, and that sounds pretty difficult. But you know who else escaped many difficult situations, guys? MacGyver. And that's what we're here to I like the way you guys are nodding. Yes. And that's what we're here to discuss. So let's get the introductions going. I am Sam Jordan, your host. And brace yourselves. I'm the guy who only just started watching this show 3 years ago on Netflix. Despite me being the oldest member of the crew, I never watched more than a minute of MacGyver until 3 years ago on Netflix. But I fell in love. I found it ludicrous, hysterical, and also very endearing. So I'd like to talk about it. And helping me talk about it each week, I've got 2 more seasoned Mac aficionados. And the first of those 2 is Mike Garland. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Sam. How you doing, man?
How you feeling about this? Making Fun of MacGyver. When I told you the title, you didn't like it because he's so near and dear to your heart.
It's a show that I grew up watching. I mean, 2 of the biggest things to come out of the 80s were Back to the Future and MacGyver. And I adore both. And the fact that you attached making fun of to something that was near and dear to me, initially I took offense, but then you discussed it with me a little bit and you backed me off the ledge a little. So I'm willing to give it a go, but I reserve the right to walk out at any point if you disrespect Richard Dean Anderson.
That is fair. That is fair. And I have you here for your expertise and your loyalty and your passion. So thank you for joining me. And I'm the youngest of the trio, not that he's young. But and the proclaimed voice of reason for the show is Mr. Jeff Hess. Welcome, Jeff.
I think the endearing quality of MacGyver is one of its more charming aspects, and
Definitely.
I'm glad that you liked that part of it.
Definitely. Are you excited about this? Or what was your reaction when I said, because no, remember, Mike, his reaction when I told him let's do a MacGyver podcast, it took him 10 minutes to think we weren't pulling his leg on that. He's like, wait, you guys are serious about this?
Well, I mean,
It's
I think it took some convincing, but you're on. I'm happy you're here.
Well, but it's not every day someone comes to you and says, hey, do you want to talk about this obscure thing that you like?
I'd be like
And
somebody
so it's a
coming
little
to me and saying, hey, we're going to do a Saved by the Bell podcast or, Alf.
Competition's probably pretty fierce for that.
Maybe.
So the mission statement for the show, yeah, good, and we're happy to have you here. The mission statement for the show is to recap and review each episode of MacGyver. There were 139 episodes and 2 TV movies. Again, it sounds far-fetched, but that's, what are you going to do? And say, yeah, we're going to do 7 episodes. I hope you enjoy. No, we're going to say we're going to do them all. And also have lots of fun along the way. Because, I love comedy. It's in my blood. I can't not make fun of this show, but I have respect for it. Not as much as respected used to, guys, but I'm going to be lambasting and ripping it and making fun. And Mike, you're going to kind of take us through each episode. And I'm really curious to see where you can draw the line between your childhood fandom and your adult sensibilities with some of the crazy stuff he does, especially in the early seasons.
Well, and that's the thing is as a kid. So, I mean, I was 7-ish, maybe 8, 7. I was 7 when the show debuted in 1985. And it was on until 1992. So that's some formidable years in the life of Mike Garland. But then in the mid-2000s, when I was living in Jacksonville and the 3 of us were working together, I started to watch it again on DVD now as a late 20s, maybe early 30s something, and I hadn't seen some of these episodes in a really, really long time. I got the box set, all of that jazz, and I watched it and I thought, holy cow, what cheese is this? Like, I thought it was so cool as a kid, and now it's like so damn corny, it's ridiculous. But you know what? Like, some things still kind of hold up, but other things are a perfect time capsule of what that era was all about. The style, the cars, the attitude, everything.
The mullets.
Like the mullet, but MacGyver was cool.
So this is an important fact. So this episode, guys, we are not, and girls, because I know there's a lot of women listening to three guys talk about MacGyver. We're not breaking down an episode here. This is just the getting to know you, getting to know all about you with your hosts, and just to tell you what we're going to do. We're setting the stage, and this is our pilot episode. Next episode for us, we're going to talk about the MacGyver pilot episode. But this is just, talking about us. So this is a big reason why the show meant little to me and more to you guys, because I'm 14 in 85 or 13 or 14 and you're 7, so it's hitting you hard. You're like, holy crap, you see what this guy, and I'm like, I'm starting to be too cool for school. I'm getting into rap music, and now Jeff, in 85, are you seeing this show, and how old are you? Give me your history there.
So I'm 2 in 85, but by the time I was the same age Mike was, it would have been 1990. So the show was like a well-established thing that was around. But I became obsessed as a young kid with MacGyver. Like his ingenuity and the clever way he did it, the science-y side of things. There was no one else on TV that was doing that. Knight Rider had the car, but MacGyver only had his brains. And I loved that part of it. But I have not seen a second of this show since the early 90s.
Oh my gosh.
Your mind will be blown.
That has me so excited.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm pretty
God.
stoked. I'm pretty stoked about it. So I'm dreading a little bit of the cheese that Mike is talking about. And if Mike Garland is saying it's cheesy, it's going to be off the charts cheesy. So I am here for it. And I hope I can be a fair adjudication between what's reasonable fandom and what's reasonable to roast about it, and be the voice of reason for it, because I love the show. I'm terrified that it won't stand up, but great storytelling can bypass all the bad things when you look about it. So I'm looking forward to it.
In some ways it stands up, in some ways it doesn't, because so for me, it wasn't my cup of tea at 14, 15, 16, 17, obviously, right? But I love 70s and somewhat 80s stuff so much that a few years ago, I'm like, all right, I have a need for more old TV. I don't want to watch Game of Thrones. I don't want to watch Breaking Bad, whatever. I just want to watch old TV. I have a fetish with old TV shows, okay? I have a problem. But so I was like, all right, let me give MacGyver a try. Maybe it'll scratch that itch for me. And I watched the pilot episode on Netflix. I'm like, that sucked. But I go and find a podcast about MacGyver. I'm like, oh, these guys are talking about it. And I love podcasts where people break down TV shows. So here's the plug for the other much better podcast. It's called the Phoenix Foundation. So guys, right now, after this, go listen to Phoenix Foundation, because they do a great podcast, and they did all the episodes.
And then out of sympathy, please come back and listen to ours anyway.
Come back for us. But so having a companion, so then I watched the next episode and I'm like, whoa, that was pretty funny and cheesy. And the first season, I found it hysterical. Everyone says his name no less than 15 times per episode. I don't know if there was some kind of mandate, if they had a running bet going on, but it's every scene is MacGyver. You think we're going to get out of this jam, MacGyver? And by the way, it is MacGyver, right? I mean, it's like, I cannot believe how many times they say his name. But the show is so cheesy, and yet I kept coming back to it. I'm like, it is really charming too. And they really cast the right guy for it, Richard Dean Anderson. And the fact that you got someone like Henry Winkler behind the scenes as an executive producer, I think that shows the Fonz. I think Henry Winkler is such a class guy that what they want to, it was not the A-Team kind of show that was going to turn me off. I didn't want to watch an A-Team kind of thing. And that's what I thought it was all these years. But they kind of went with a more cerebral, yet still tough, but realistic hero. And that kind of won me over with the cheese. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, and the thing about Henry Winkler being involved is, everybody associates him, the Fonz, and leather jacket and but you have to realize that Henry Winkler, the man, is like a 5'4", Yale educated, theater trained really good actor. Like, he knows the ins and outs of the business. He's not just this meatball that everybody saw on Happy Days. So to get a guy like that involved with the show, and then you get a good cast with, Richard Dean Anderson and Dana Elcar coming in as Pete Thornton. And then you had, I can't remember everybody's names off the top of my head, but the Jack Dalton sidekick. And then you had like the reoccurring guests, like Dick Butkus was on the show a bunch of times over the course of its run. And you have other guest appearances that, people of value ended up being on this show. Like any popular show of its time, you get those special guest star type of things.
Now wait a second. I saw Jeff give a look about Dick Butkus, and I'm almost done with season 5. I've still never seen anything from 6 and 7. I don't think I've seen Dick Butkus yet through the season 1 through 5. Jeff, what do you? Okay.
I know part of Mike's role here is to do MacGyver facts, and I'm just like blown away.
Okay, so he gets there.
I'm just making sure that does happen. But all right, I got some.
But I think.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I really think like the endearing quality that you're talking about when you look at the history of television. So NYPD Blue came out, I think, in 92. And television changed after that. And that endearing quality was lost from a lot of programs where it became more cynical and more violent. But then in the mid to late 2000s, you had the happy ending show come back, like a Modern Family and shows like that where people wanted to feel good about what they were watching. And that's kind of where MacGyver fits. So it makes sense to me that it would be unpopular for some time and have a kind of a renaissance as people look back to television content that has stars they can want to like.
Well, you talk about NYPD Blue, and that's a interesting show to bring up, but how about, I'm a huge fan of like Twin Peaks, and Twin Peaks debuts in 90. And imagine Twin Peaks airing like in the same week when like MacGyver is doing his. That's just amazing to me.
They were both on CBS, right? Twin Peaks was a CBS or an ABC
Twin Peaks
show?
was ABC,
okay.
and MacGyver was ABC.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like it shows you how out of step with what television was becoming MacGyver was when it ended.
So these days, MacGyver is too good. Like I don't know. You're watching
too wholesome.
The current show. He's too wholesome. Yeah. So you're watching the current CBS show, Mike, the reboot, and none of us have seen it. But did they play him? Is he any bit edgier, or is he still like a goody two shoes?
Okay, so he's kind of a goody two shoes. Lucas Till is the kid that plays MacGyver now, and he was in a movie a couple of years ago called Monster Trucks, it's a good like family movie. My kids have seen it and they like it. But there's the cast on that show. You really have never really heard of anybody on the show now. But he's a little bit edgier. I mean, this MacGyver certainly fights a lot more, drinks beer a lot more.
Gunplay?
What's that?
Guns?
No, he still does the whole like diffusing of guns.
Okay.
There's probably a little bit more science. So there's some of the MacGyver stuff that mirrors over. I don't see as much of the knife, but there's still a lot of MacGyver ingenuity. But I would say that the Lucas Till MacGyver is a little edgier. But, I mean, TV today is a little more edgier, and the violence on almost anything that has a violent aspect is so much more in your face than it was 85 to 92, where there's like presumed or assumed violence. You don't have to see it to know what the payoff was.
Well, I could also see how if you're a TV producer, it'd be easy to try and reboot MacGyver as like the new Walter White. So I'm glad they didn't try to do that with the character, because it seems like the good nature of the character is, to me, such an important part.
The spirit of MacGyver is still there in Lucas Till's MacGyver with the ingenuity and the science and kind of, I mean, the violence, but like the passive violence type of stuff. But otherwise, like the show's, again, the spirit of the show is there now, but it's different.
Let's give the listeners, remember a lot of women listening, so they want to know some of your other favorite TV shows. So I'll throw out a few just like off the top of my head over the years, but I'll lean on the older ones. I want to talk 5 and 6 years old. Yeah, Happy Days, which does not stand the test of time. Happy Days, Three's Company. I love Three's Company. That's maybe my all-time favorite. Then like SNL, David Letterman, Conan, Twin Peaks is great. I can't think of some other things. Right? I mean, even the Golden Girls like has some great writing on it. I think that the Golden Girls stands up. So for me, that's kind of my sweet spot was like late 70s to then 80s. But then you get to be a teenager in your 20s and you don't watch as much TV. But Jeff, besides MacGyver, what were some other shows throughout your life that really stand out?
Well, mine are going to give away my age bracket too, which is, Friends, Seinfeld, Sliders, X-Files, Star Trek Next Generation. That's going to be the really big rundown of shows that had a formative impact on how I saw television.
So MacGyver, you kind of come in at the tail end as the show is ending and you're getting old enough but you still watch in syndication or something, or?
Yeah, and it'd still be available on cable for a long time. And the way Mike talks about MacGyver, like blowing his mind, that's what X-Files did to me 10 years later. So there's never going to be a show that has a spot in my mind like X-Files does. But, MacGyver has got a warm spot in my heart. It's just it's a different kind of level of love.
Mike, you were big on a lot of those mid-'80s shows. What are some of your favorite shows?
So if you go back to actually 1972, MASH, and that is a show that definitely has stood the test of time. I watched that with my grandfather when I was a kid. It was still on first run, and even today it's still in syndication. I've probably seen every episode of that show 2 or 3 times over. So you have MASH, and then you have the 80s shows that I definitely grew up on: Who's the Boss, Perfect Strangers, Growing Pains, Head of the Class. You get into the 90s with Saved by the Bell, Dukes of Hazzard. If you go back again to 1980, 1970, 79? 1979 was the first year Dukes of Hazzard. NYPD Blue, Married with Children. Even The Simpsons. I mean, we talk about TV with staying power. If you think about it, hell, The Simpsons have been on since 1989. So, that's a show that more than one generation has grown up on now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, The Simpsons is a big one. I can't believe I forgot that one.
And there's a lot like today. Now I'm a parent. I have 2 kids, so my time and my a little bit different. But today I find myself I watched the new MacGyver. I watched Hawaii Five-0. I watched Last Man Standing, and I watched some of the crime dramas, Criminal Minds, CSI when it was on. But it seems like lately when shows go away, I'm not replacing them with anything else. I did watch the Roseanne reboot the one year that it was Roseanne, and I've continued to watch now that it's called The Connors. But I really don't pick up new shows anymore, and I just find myself either going back and watching MASH reruns or watching some of these old episodes of shows that I like, MacGyver or Saved by the Bell or something like that.
Interesting. Because I've got that to the 10th degree. I've got a problem. I seriously do. I have on DVD probably no less than 8 or 9 TV series. And it's some of them I never even loved as a kid, but I just love the idea of having the whole series. And it takes me back. That drug of nostalgia is so powerful. And I'll watch something. So I have Murder, She Wrote. I forgot to add Murder, She Wrote. There's no way in the world I should love. There's no way in the right frame of mind I should love Murder, She Wrote. But I watched it as a teen with my mom, and so then it somehow locked in as a wholesome thing to do with my mom. And Angela Lansbury reminded me of my grandmother. I love Murder, She Wrote. It puts me to sleep every time I watch it. There is nothing great about that show, and yet it does something for me. You know what I mean? And I love having it. So I am just addicted to old TV, and there's almost nothing new that I watch. So to me, going back to a show from the 80s is great. And I don't know. It is embarrassing, though. I'll admit it's embarrassing.
I think the Murder, She Wrote is more common than you think.
It's totally okay. And Murder, She Wrote and Golden Girls, I know those are 2 kind of female skewed programs, but you mentioned it earlier, great writing in Golden Girls. The one-liners that those ladies zinged on one another during that time, holy cow, that had to be so edgy during that time. That was not a show that I would have watched on NBC when it was in first run. But I watch it now in the 21st century, in the year 2020, and you hear the things those ladies say and the double entendre sex jokes they make to one another. And it's holy cow, how did they get through in the 80s with some of this stuff?
Mm-hmm. You just reminded me of the year. Thanks, Mike. I was all enjoying this, trip down memory lane. And now let's talk about what we got going on, the global pandemic. It's a good time to start a podcast. That's what I was thinking. Let's talk about MacGyver now when we might not know if we make it to 2021. But what are your guys' thoughts on just starting a podcast in the middle of all this? Doesn't it in some way feel like it's almost the perfect time?
It is the perfect time.
I had nothing else to do.
Okay, that's all there. All right.
So seriously, you talk to your friends anymore, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Oh yeah, nothing. That's right, I forgot.
Yeah. Are you guys doing okay?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been interesting working from home for the last month. I work in public relations for a company that does automotive events, so we have certainly kept an eye on everything that's going on. We've had to move a couple of events into the summer months, and hopefully by the time June comes around, things will be going good for us. But for me, for right now, I'm good. I'm mostly sane. I generally know what day of the week it is most times. And I have rather enjoyed just being home and doing something that I have not done in a long time. I mean, you guys know, I mean, I got divorced in 2016, separated in 16, divorced in 19. But ever since that separation, I always kept myself really busy because I was always afraid of like the downtime and being kind of alone with my thoughts. But like, this is the first time in 3 years that I've really taken time to chill. And it's been okay. And I hope it remains okay when things get back to normal. So I have enjoyed it. I'm doing good.
And you are in where, Pennsylvania? What's the city?
Mechanicsburg, to be exact.
And you run a
Okay.
car show.
Yeah, well, like my email address too at this point. Yeah, we're coming into this like, hey, how serious are we going to be about it? We should protect ourselves. The hell, like, hey, I'm Mike Garland. I work for this company. Like, whatever.
It's very important that the listeners know you're divorced. I'm glad you got that.
You said
out
there were
there
lots
for all
of
the female
ladies
listeners.
listening. Lots and lots of ladies.
And Jeff, you're in Fresno.
I live in
these
Fresno,
days?
California, where I've lived for 5 years. I sell houses here, so I'm not doing literally anything because it's so difficult to do with the virus out there. But I got a 1-year-old son at home, so I'm watching MacGyver and raising my baby.
And I'm in St. Augustine, working from home in marketing. And here's the connection. We all worked in radio together for about 3 years, from 07 to 10, and then you guys maybe for another year or two together after that. But we generally haven't spent much time in person in the last decade, so it's MacGyver bringing us back together. So we're kind of excited about this. So let's get to MacGyver now. I think Mike is probably the expert here, but I've got a quiz for you guys. So I want to see how you match up against each other.
What? No cheating?
No. All right. So I got 10 questions here. And listeners, all those women that we're talking about, feel free to play along. What is MacGyver seen doing in the very beginning of the pilot episode? Climbing a cliff face, rafting down a river, hopping a fence and escaping from enemy agents, or driving his Jeep down the highway? It's climbing a cliff face, rafting down a river, hopping a fence and escaping from enemy agents, driving his Jeep down the highway. I'll take both of you guys your answers. So.
Do you know it, Mike?
Mike, go first.
Well,
and
here's
next
the thing.
time Jeff
I know
goes.
what the answer is, so let's give Jeff the first opportunity to be wrong.
Okay, Jeff.
It's got to be driving the Jeep down the highway.
All right.
Climbing a cliff
What do you
face.
say, Mike?
Climbing a cliff face.
Yes.
I'm going to choose climbing cliff face. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I got to go to the end of the quiz. Oh, gosh. That's not. Sorry, folks. I didn't think this through.
That's the answer, though. Climbing
let's
a cliff
see if I can
face.
hit submit my answers. Incomplete quiz. You have not answered all the
Jesus,
questions.
just go back and do it.
here.
Do it
All
right.
right. Okay. In the pilot episode, MacGyver does something that you never see him do again throughout the whole series. What does he do? Push an enemy off a cliff? Drink some alcohol from a hip flask? Fire a rifle at some enemies? Or wear a leather jacket?
It's probably shoot a gun.
Yep. Okay. So let's choose that.
Yeah. But he does it Batman style, where he'll just let people die.
MacGyver has a good friend named Jack Dalton. What involuntary action tips MacGyver off that Jack is lying to him about something? Jack's voice changes pitch. Jack touches his ear. Jack's eye twitches. Jack touches his nose. Mike, do you not know this one? Because I see.
No, I know. I'm just always defaulting to Jeff.
I think his eye twitches.
It is eye
twitches.
Eye twitches.
All right.
His eye twitches?
Now, Jeff admitted, I'm glad we got him to admit that he hasn't seen the show in almost 20 years. So 15. What is the name of the dog that is featured in more than one episode and is taken in by bounty hunter Frank Colton as a pet? Is it Frank, Doc, Frog, or Dog? I know this one. You know it, Mike? No.
It's got to be Doc.
Repeat the options again, Sam.
No, I know this.
No?
Frank, Doc, Frog, Dog.
I'm going to go with Frog.
I think it's Frog. But it's really satisfying for me to say, hold on, we'll wait till we get to the end of 10 and then I'll come back to you.
Although Frank is a
Not bad.
solid dog name. It's a good name for a
I mean,
dog.
more pets should have people names. Seriously.
Yes, more people should have pet
Give me
names.
some of your pet names over the year. Some of your pet names that you've had if you've had pets.
Roxy, Bigby, Pepper, Sherbert, and Buffy.
Sherbert. What was
Yeah.
Sherbert?
Beagle.
Okay.
She lived to be 21 until my dad ran over her with a car.
Wait,
He
you had
says
a dog that was 20 years old?
21.
21 years old. And didn't
Yeah.
die from a nice old age.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All it would move in the entire day was to go outside and do one lap around the house.
So where did your dad hit him?
Hey, the timing, that lap, that
the
one lap
backyard?
is when it happened? Oh, no.
Yes.
Sherbert.
Yeah.
You killed Sherbert.
My dad feels terrible, but it's so hard not to
Oh
make
my
fun of him because it's
God.
like it's ridiculous. Yep.
Was it instantaneous?
Oh, I'm sure by that. But yeah.
Wait, what do you mean you're sure?
Or
You didn't see it happen? You
I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't there.
That's
People do
No,
it
I
as
was.
long as in
Yeah,
Ohio.
that was. Well, I mean, we got the dog when I was like 9, so I was almost 30 when it died.
Your dog, your grandma, everybody in the
over
Hess
his
family
grandma.
lives forever.
I know.
I don't know if I can get back to the quiz, but I'm going to try.
Sorry.
Which of the following locations did MacGyver not live in at any time in the series? An observatory, at the Phoenix Foundation, above a hardware store, a houseboat.
Above a
He did.
hardware store is my answer.
He did live at the Phoenix
Houseboat.
Foundation?
No, I'm sorry. He did not live in the Phoenix Foundation. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
He definitely lived in a houseboat, Jeff.
Yes.
This is where did he not live? Jeff, do you not remember the houseboat?
I don't remember the houseboat.
And he was-
he's almost starting from
And he was in the
scratch then.
observatory in the pilot episode.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I'll say at the Phoenix Foundation. In one episode, MacGyver makes an arc welder out of jumper cables, a generator, and what? Steel washers, earrings, coins, bottle caps.
It's got to be steel washers.
I'm gonna go with nickel or
All right, I'll choose coin. What is MacGyver's favorite movie genre? Western, crime, war, comedy? I think it's Western. I feel like I saw one recently where he's laying down and watching a Western.
I'd be okay with Western. I'm not sold on
Solid
it, but I'm
movie
okay
genre.
with it.
What do you say, Jeff?
I'm going to go off the wall and go with comedy. He needs to cool off a little bit sometimes.
In the episode Ghost Ship, MacGyver runs into someone or something that appears to be which of the following? A ghost, a vampire, a sea monster, a Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
It's a Bigfoot, right, Mike? Yeah.
The Bigfoot episode is called Ghost Ship.
yeah. Yep.
What is this show?
A Bigfoot. Which of the following unfortunate things does not happen to MacGyver throughout the series? Sprayed with pesticide. Again, this does not happen to him. Breaks his arm. Blinded by an explosion. Bitten by poisonous snake. What do you think, Mike?
Well, everyone knows he's been bitten by snakes.
I'm gonna go with the broken appendage, broken arm.
Broken arm? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. No permanent damage.
Final question. MacGyver would sometimes don a disguise to trick the bad guys. What was the name of his nerdy alter ego? I just watched these episodes. His name was Sheldon Arrington, Eugene Herman, Dexter Fillmore, Melvin Prescott. I think it's Dexter.
Those are terrific nerd names.
I think it's
Yeah,
Dexter.
run down that listing. I might change my name.
Sheldon Arrington,
I'm gonna go
Eugene
Dexter.
Herman, Dexter Fillmore, Melvin Prescott. Melvin, what do you think? Mike? Is it Melvin or Dexter? I think it's Dexter.
Dexter Fillmore.
All right, submitting the answers. So now we got, and we, okay, and they don't give us an overall score. This is great. We got 9 out of 10, guys.
Ooh,
Which one did we
got-
get wrong?
The only one we missed was he
Dexter?
did not break his arm.
He
I'm
did
sorry,
his arm.
he
I said
did.
he didn't
I'm sorry,
break
he
his arm.
did break his arm. He was never bitten by a poisonous snake.
Oh damn!
What?
I figured that was a fact.
But he climbs the cliff face in the opening. He fired a rifle in the pilot. Jack's eye twitches. Frog was the name of Frank Colton's dog. Never lived at the Phoenix Foundation. Made the arc welder out of jumper cables, a generator, and coins. Loves those Westerns. Bigfoot. And Dexter Fillmore. So we got 9 out of 10. So listeners, if you really want MacGyver experts, this is where you decide. Are you going to ride with us for 142 episodes with guys that got a 9 out of 10 on the MacGyver episode? Or do you demand that 10 out of 10? If you do, Go check out the Phoenix Foundation. They do a great podcast.
Now, are those coins conducive enough to get that arc welder action going?
This is a perfect segue to our roles on the show. Defining our roles. I'm sorry, I'm stepping over your actual question.
No, I was setting the spike up for you, baby.
So we do have some roles. So I am going to be like the show host and then the guy that makes the most fun. Mike is going to take us through scene by scene of each show, and he's the loyal diehard. And then Jeff is going to bring that sciencey, could it MacGyver, could this really happen angle. So way to go, Jeff. What was that question again?
Does it MacGyver?
A coin, an arc welder? First of all, what is an arc welder? Let's start there because I don't.
It's the thing where you see the people have to put the mask down and it staples metal together.
Okay, and a coin could.
But I think the coins have a nickel core, and that's not going to be conducive enough for the electricity of the arc welder.
Some early era coins, not nickel. They would have been steel. And pennies, of course, were copper.
They would have been all nickel. See, this is what I'm going to find out. So this is going to be my part.
Yes.
Every MacGyver-y thing he does, or he usually has one big set piece of MacGyver stuff. I'm going to do the science research and tell you whether or not it would actually work.
You bring the Mac facts. Right.
I will. I will tell you, does it MacGyver?
Great. All right, let's see what else. Winding this thing up here, let's talk about how we'll be watching. So despite me having the fewest ties to the show, I am the nerdiest, and I've got the box set on DVD. I spent $50 and it's in pure standard definition, and I've got it all. So that's how I'm going to be watching. I still have not seen any episodes from 6 or 7. I've never seen an episode from 6 or 7. I'm almost done with 5, but we're going to start from the beginning. Mike, how are you be watching these shows?
So my buddy Andy actually has all my DVDs, so I guess I need to bounce between my free month of CBS All Access, and then I actually have a digital file of them as well.
And Jeff?
CBS All Access, streaming, baby.
It is unfortunate that we decide not only to do a podcast in the middle of the global pandemic, but also when the show is off Netflix. It's been off for probably about 2 years now. But boy, asking people to follow along on CBS All Access is a tough ask.
Well, I think it's probable, and I would even tread on saying almost certain, that the popularity of this podcast will make Netflix bring it back. I don't think there's any reason why that's not going to happen.
Well, I would go a step further. I'd say ABC is probably going to bring it back. Not a reboot. I just mean they're going to start showing the old MacGyver episodes. Probably prime time.
Well, how crazy would that be if they had the new? They just dropped an old
place
episode.
Now that Modern Family's off the air, they're just going to
put an old episode in there. Like, what's up?
Dancing with the Stars, you're out of here. Old MacGyver episodes.
Have they done a crossover with the new guy and the original?
So on the new show, they have had a couple of past cast members come on, but Richard Dean Anderson has not made an appearance yet on the new show.
They'll hit you with the big dog in the season finale.
And let's do some predictions before we wrap this up. First of all, the big one, the elephant in the room. How many episodes will we actually record of this show? Now, here's the catch. I think we should all toss in maybe $5, $10, whoever gets it right. But you cannot bail on the show right before your prediction number is coming up to win that money. So think about this. How many episodes of Making Fun of MacGyver will we actually record and produce? We're saying we're going to do 142 or 3. That would probably take us a couple of years. And we haven't even seen each other in many years. This is the first time we've done a Skype call in ever. What are the odds that we're going to get to it? So think about it. But I'll go first because I already thought this through. I say we will do 17 episodes. And something will happen. We'll just be like, this sucks. iTunes will take it down. One of us will die or something. But
I'd prefer iTunes to take it down.
But part of me would be impressed if we put 17 episodes up. So I'm not lowballing that. But and this is not Price is Right rules. So if it's 20 and someone said 28, I still you can go over. Whoever's closest.
Well, I mean, we're shooting for twice a month, and I'm thinking 9 months is enough for something to become like a real solid habit. And so that 18, 20, 24, I'll go with 24.
Well, that would like get us the first season. And if we complete the first, that should be really the goal here, like one step at a time, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Like if we can get a rhythm, and since we're not doing weekly, we're doing twice a month, I think it'll be relatively easy to maintain that laid back pace. Because a lot of people overinvest themselves, but we're smarter than that.
Well, no, right here we're telling the listener right off the bat, we're probably gonna not live up to our lofty goals.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't have expectations.
Well, so Sam, you had a 2-part question. How many will we record and how many will we produce? And since you are the producer, I would say at some point we will record 27 episodes, but we will somehow get backlogged and something will happen. So we will only produce 23 of them.
Okay. So wait. So you're one under Jeff. Let's just go produce. Let's get how many the listener can listen to.
How many make it to air? Make it to air 26. 26 will make it to air.
So that has us going into the second season.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other predictions, guys?
Did you write these down, by the way?
Not really. But we'll have it. This one will get produced, so we'll have at least this one out there. But what do you guys want to accomplish with Making Fun of MacGyver, the podcast? Anything?
Just the human connection of sharing an enjoyable product that everybody likes. I've never heard anyone say they don't like MacGyver, so I'm in it for the human connection.
Oh, the human connection. All right. Mike, what do you want?
I am looking forward to actually seeing episodes again. I run into this problem with other shows, and at this point in our adult lives, work, family, social obligations, you turn on a TV show that you really want to catch up with. It's like, I'm going to start at episode 1. I have seen the pilot episode of MacGyver like 15 times, and I get into like episode 4, 5, 6, but I just never gain enough momentum to keep going. So hopefully this will be that catalyst to really get me going to watch these episodes. And you also have to remember, in this era of television, a 1-hour episode was something like 49 minutes long. There was only 11 minutes of commercial. It's not like today where an hour TV show, I think, is 42 minutes or 39 minutes or something now. So there's a lot of content to view and review and then discuss when we do this. So I'm hoping that, like I said, we can get to the end, that I can get to the end and watch all the episodes again.
We haven't even started. The guy's complaining about he's getting too much MacGyver in his MacGyver episodes. I like this show, but I wish there was just less of it.
No, I was saying that this was a time when you got a lot of content during your program. It wasn't like 39 minutes and all these commercials. And
we all know what his first name was revealed to be, right? That's late in the last season, right?
Remember,
we all know what that was?
Yes.
Angus.
Right. But do you know the original press release from Paramount Pictures, the cast listing states the character name to be Stacy MacGyver. That's what it was going to be. And then they changed it. And one more fun fact. After the pilot, which we're going to talk about next episode, John Rich, executive producer, him and Henry Winkler, thought it was so bad, he's like, I'm out of here. And same thing for the director too. So you'll see Alan Smithy is the name as the director for that episode, which is the name when a director hates what's been filmed and he wants no part of it, they put Alan Smithy up there, whether it's a movie or a TV show, whatever. So on the pilot episode, it's going to be directed by Alan Smithy because everyone thought it stunk. And it's not good. It doesn't show that it's going to be as good a show that, it turned out to be.
Well, and in the pilot episode, Dana Elcar, who goes on to play Pete Thornton, isn't even Pete Thornton in the pilot episode. So, I don't understand TV shows that do this. They all of a sudden oh, that guy was on the show. Or MASH. I mentioned MASH earlier. And think about the show of its era, but they would have these more than likely, Asian American actors that are playing Koreans, but they were one particular Korean in season 2, and then there they are again 4 seasons later just playing a different Korean. You're not, Colonel Potter in MASH was Harry Morgan. He had an appearance as some other guy, and then 2 seasons later he's there as Colonel Potter.
Yep, a lot of that went on in the 60s and 70s and a little bit in the 80s, but I think that's it. I think I've enjoyed this. Lots of fun, and let's just get into it next time with the pilot episode. I'm really excited to get going. So Don't know when that'll be, probably within the next couple of weeks, but look for it on iTunes and wherever you get your podcast. I'm not sure where this thing's going to be yet, actually. I'm hoping it just gets published and produced. Might not be. You know? Maybe I want to win that $10. I don't know.
0 episodes.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and we'll talk to you next time, okay?
Thanks.
Goodbye.
And thanks for listening to Making Fun of MacGyver. See you guys next time. Peace.